Giles and Lenore is insane, literally. Not insane as in they are good, but insane as in they can go insane from the sanity system. We Argnite now, boys. I know a lot of you probably wondering if they are any good. I'm going to be honest here. I'm as confused as you are. So before we evaluate if you should summon for them, let's go through the sanity system first. When you are at 100 sanity, you are in the calm state. And this is basically the default state. When you enter a battle, you are at 100 sanity. Oh, by the way, the sanity system only appears when you're using either Lenore, Giles, or Mei. There are exceptions, which some event stages have the sanity system without even using any of their units. And 99 stack to 80 stack of sanity, you will receive 1 poison and also lower your defense by 10%. So poison will deal 1% damage to you every single turn, and having 10% defense down, meaning you will take more damage. Very simple to understand. At 79 stack to 50 stack, all enemy units are subject to the above, meaning the enemy will also take 1 poison every round and also have their defense lower, which is a good thing. This is actually an upside. So ideally, you do want to stay on the 79 to 50 range if you are using Lenore or Giles. And then now we go below the 50 range, which is the bad side. But not always just bad, which I'll talk about later. So at 49 to 20%, you will start having a Mirage randomly appear at the start of each round. So this Mirage is a little bit special. It's not a targetable enemy, meaning you cannot use units such as Chandra to kill it because you cannot select it. However, you could use AoE skill or chain combo that can do AoE damage to kill them. And I believe they only have 1 health, so yeah, it's pretty easy to kill them. However, if they manage to hit you, they will do true damage to you, meaning they ignore any armor, and they will inflict 5 stack of bleedings. The important part is the 5 stack of bleeding. So bleeding will deal more damage to you the lower the health you go. And the true damage, from what I see, it doesn't really do that much, but yeah, it's still something worth mentioning. You do take a fair bit of damage, like around 2%. So the Mirage can go up to infinite amount, so it's actually very nice to kill them, or else they will get pretty overwhelming. At the 19 to 1 sanity range, you will get 4 more poison stack, so you get 5 poison stack now, since you also get the 1 poison before, and your healing effect is reduced to 20%. So if you go down to 19 stacks, you really want to close down the fight very soon because you're gonna die very fast if you don't do anything about it. And at the insane state, which will makes your team defense reduce to 10%. So if you have 100 defense, you will have 10 defense now. So if you don't know how defense works, it reduces the incoming damage by a flat amount. So if you have 5,000 defense and the enemy deals 6,000 damage, you will only take 1,000 damage. If the enemy deal 5,000 damage and you have 5,000 armor, you will only take 1 damage. So defense is good against multiple enemy or enemy that can do multiple hits. And having your defense reduced to 10% is very deadly if the enemy could hit you, because that means you will at least reduce 10% of your health every time you get hit, no matter which enemy hit you, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. Except the Mirage, which do true damage. They don't really do more than 5,000, at least from what I see. So while we are explaining this sanity system, it's good time to talk about Mei, the welfare unit. So if you didn't know, you could actually go to the event shop and purchase Mei for free, and also her soul amber, of course. Okay, so what does Mei do? Mei is a forest support which has, decent attack. It's not too high, but it's average. But her main gimmick is the active skill, the Precious Bloom. So it has 1 cooldown, and she is able to change the sanity system for this battle. Grant increased resistance to sanity system debuff effect. Debuff are also weakened. Restore 25% of lost sanity point at the cost of 15% of her current health. So when you are using Mei, the sanity system drawback will be reduced pretty significantly actually. So you won't have any poison effect on you, and your healing effect are increased by quite a lot. So instead of 20%, it's 70%, and your defense gone up to 30% instead of 10% on the insane state. Not only that, she can also recover sanity points, so up to 25 sanity at the cost of 15% of her health. So this is her health, not the team health. So it actually much lower than 15%. It's actually around 3% of your team health usually if you use her in a, well, normal battle, of course. If you use her in secret territory, of course, well, she just reduce her own health. So a 1 cooldown ability that restore up to 25 sanity, and by having Mei in your team, you weaken the drawbacks of being insane. Sounds good? No, Mei is actually pretty bad, and there's multiple reasons for it. Firstly, let's look at her chain combo. Abyssal Vine. 2 chain deal 155% damage to 8 tiles in an X-shaped area. So it's the X-shaped chain. Now, I am not really a big haters on the X-shaped chain because usually they will have a debuff effect on them. So if you look at the Koa, although her chain is X-shaped, she has a debuff that make enemy takes more active skill damage. Lester, X-shaped, but she can poison the enemy. Pack, although being X-shaped, she can slow the enemy and mark the enemy as well. When the marked enemy dies, you get healing and enhanced tile. But Mei doesn't do that. Mei simply does damage. And X-shaped are not the best for doing damage, although it is pretty low to chain, and you could hit people, but usually you have to sacrifice your other unit in order to hit more with Mei. And since she's a support that doesn't really do that much damage, this chain combo is actually terrible. And at 7 chain, you do X-shape to the maximum range, and at 10 chain, you do slightly more damage and also X-shape to the maximum range. So Mei is just terrible for damage, and the chain combo definitely doesn't help. Now we look at her equipment. The Dainty Prudence. For every 1 sanity point lost, restore health equal to 4% of main attack. The lower the sanity, the greater the health recovery, up to 100%. Her defense increase as sanity drops up to 100%. So the healing is scaled based on Mei's attack, so that it means you have to invest some stats into Mei. You have to raise her level in order to get higher amount of healing, but I just have to say, even though you invest her to level 80, she still have very low healing, especially when your sanity is not on 0. And even if your sanity is on 0, which is impossible by the way, because you have to lose sanity in order to heal. So ideally you heal from like 25 sanity and you drop to 0 using other active skill from Giles or Lenore. You get a little bit of healing, but the amount of healing you get is even lower than a single chain combo from, let's say, Uraya. So yeah, it's very low healing, and it's also on a 1 cooldown basis in order to gain back the sanity, right? I mean, yes, she does have the defense increase when you're on low sanity, but it's not really worth a slot just for that in your team. Another thing about Mei though is she's limited. She is a limited welfare unit, and the only way she is useful is to use alongside with Giles or Lenore, because that's her whole gimmick, to restore sanity. In a way, this is total way of letting you know she really can't be too good, because if she is good and you miss this event, it will make Giles and Lenore a lot worse. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit too harsh on Mei, because if Giles or Lenore is good, Mei can help restoring some sanity, right? So let's talk about Lenore now. Oh boy, another forest detonators. You already know what it is. It's time to play the game of, is this better than Araya or Hero? Surprisingly, the answer this time is not so straightforward. It depends. Let's first look at her chain combo. Double Stitch Whip. At 5 chains, she will do 130% damage to 1 row. The lower the sanity is, the greater the damage, up to 100%. This is on maximum breakthrough. On non-maximum breakthrough, it's only up to 80%. At 9 chain, it's 3 row instead of 1 row. It's the same damage multiplier. At 33 chain, you didn't see it wrong. 33, it's 5 row instead of 3 row. However, even though it's 33 chain, you could lower it by managing your sanity. So if your sanity is below 75 points, you only need 15 tiles, which is still high, but it's not impossible, right? Because you want to get to 15 anyway because of Aurora time. And the best part is, if you're in the insane state, which is 0 sanity, you only need 5 to trigger it. So Lenore not only out damage Araya on chain combo, you also have a pretty good range to attack from safety because it's a row attack, right? Which makes certain scenario a better DPS. On the rare occasion, you can hit every single tile on a 3x3 or a 5x2 enemy, which raise the damage difference between Araya and Lenore even higher. However, this is only if you can make sure you do not die when you are under the insane state. Only having 10% of your defense is very deadly, especially when there are multiple enemies. And of course, you're also getting hit by 5 stacks of poison and possibly 5-second bleeding from the Mirage. So I would say Lenore is a DPS that is very dependent on the stage, but she can be very strong. So let's look at her equipment now. The Marionette Curse. If not in the calm state, at the start of each round, deal damage equal to 1% of team max health to all enemies. The lower the sanity, the greater the damage increase, up to 10% of team max health. Based on what I see, this equipment doesn't really do that much damage. It is AoE damage, and true, when you have lower sanity, you do 10% of your team max health, but that only usually go up to like 5 to 6,000 damage per round, which is not high at all, because like one chain combo is usually already 20k damage, and yeah, basically it's not very high damage even at the highest damage potential. And yes, you can scale Lenore health or nails. If you use nails in your team, you could scale their health by using the active skill, but even then I don't think this will do a lot of damage unless you really need to clear the whole board every turn and the enemy has really low health. Then I guess Lenore equipment can be pretty decent by just clear the board. And if you're wondering, no, this equipment does not clear the Mirage because for some reason it just doesn't. You have to use an AoE spell or chain combo to kill the Mirage. Now let's talk about her active skill, the Vermilion Sea. It is a 1 cooldown preemptive strike. Lenore uses the Sanity System in battle. Choose any one tile and select another one tile within 2 surrounding cluster to generate a rectangle area within which 333% damage will be dealt to tiles. Each tile in the rectangle deduct 3 sanity points. If an enemy sustains damage more than once, the subsequent damage will be reduced to 33%. Every time an active skill deal damage, Lenore max health will be boosted by 3%. The last line, the health increase every time you hit an enemy, is breakthrough 3. So if you want to scale your life, you do have to get another copy. So this is active skill that basically help you trigger the Sanity System effect. On its own, it doesn't really do that much. The damage is not insanely high, and on a big target, even though you can hit them a lot of times, the damage is reduced to 33%, which is pretty low. So this skill is not really meant to do high amount of damage. It's only meant for you to manage your sanity system, in my opinion. You could use the big version, so 9 tiles right away, and get to 79 to 50 range, so you can instantly get the best effect, which is reflect the poison back to the enemy and lower their defense. And then if you want to increase your damage even more, then of course you can use your active skill even more and go up to the insane state. So yeah, I don't think there's much to say on this active skill. It's not really mind-blowing. It just do some damage and lower your sanity, so you can make use of your chain combo. Now let's talk about Giles. Giles is voiced by a god tier voice actor, Yuki Kaji.
白夜城は白夜城冷たい優しい虫生きたいいやもう帰らない絶対に
Yeah, I just want to share that. It is a very good voice acting though. Similar to Lenore, Giles is a high risk, high reward character, except Giles do not need to go to insane state for his chain combo to do highest damage. So Giles is a fire sniper with pretty decent attack, and his chain combo deal damage equal to 100% of attack to enemy to the lowest health percentage twice, so it's actually 200% damage. Of course, it's worse than that because you have to keep in mind of defense of the enemy, of course. When sanity drop below 60, 25 or 0 points, inflict additional damage up to 1, 2 or 3 times. Reduce the final damage by 15% each time. And if you can get up to the maximum chain, the final damage is reduced by 5% each time instead, which is very good, and you do 140% damage instead. So this chain combo is actually very strong, and the 0 point, which is the insane state one, is actually at the maximum breakthrough, so I don't assume anyone will get that unless you whale, of course, which is actually not too bad because you don't have to go to insane state to trigger the best damage. But even without the 5 hits from the maximum breakthrough, 4 hit is already very high amount of damage. Similar to Lenore, he has pretty good range where you can attack from a distance, because you do need that in order for you to manage your sanity. As you know, when you are on low sanity, you are going to die very easily. And let's look at his active skill, Dawn of Isaac. A 0 cooldown preemptive strike. Giles joined the battle with Sanity System, use 15 sanity points to deal 333% damage to enemies in the 4 adjacent tile in a cross shape around one chosen tile. Deal 2x damage if the casted tile is selected. So this means if you select yourself, you will deal 2 times the damage, which is insanely good. After an active skill kills a target, it can be used again, inflicting 2x final damage at the cost of 2x sanity. So with Giles, if there's a lot of enemy for you to kill, you can potentially lower your sanity a lot quicker than Lenore because you use 15 right away, and if you kill an enemy, you can use another one for 30, so 45 on a 0 cooldown basis. And surprisingly, Giles do a lot more damage with active skill compared to Lenore, especially if the enemy is a single tile. It can go up to like 1300 damage. Like, that is crazy. So yeah, this active skill is pretty good for bursting down enemy when you want to kill the enemy, because like I said, going to this insanity space is very dangerous. The good thing about Giles is you could save your sanity until the very last turn, where you can guarantee you can kill the boss, and you can use 45 or even up to like, I don't even know how much, because you can potentially use this infinite amount of time. Well, not really infinite, because you can use up your sanity. You can use this active skill as long as you kill something, and yeah, you can potentially use this 3 times even as long as you have the sanity to spend. One more really strong thing about his kit is his equipment, the Fervent Burst, activated after killing any enemy in this round. Whenever Giles deals damage, damage is increased according to the current sanity. The lower the sanity, the greater the damage increase, up to 40%. 40, that is super high. 40 is super high. The kill of any mirage additionally increased bonus by 10%. The kill of any mirage additionally grant increased bonus is on breakthrough tree. So if you want that, you need to summon for extra copies. But in my opinion, it's not really necessary at all, because well, it's just 10%. Who cares? But yeah, 40% is actually massive, and you can do it very easily by just using your active skill on a more squishy targets, or even just killing the mirage. You get the 40% damage boost. Of course, it scales based on your sanity. So if you are on 100 sanity, I assume it just does nothing. But you cannot be on 100 sanity because, well, you'll at least use one of your active skill by then. But yeah, very cool equipment, very strong. On the right scenario, Giles can really be a hard carry for your team. And looking at fire snipers, we don't really have much choice. We have Frostfire, Jonah, and of course Toru, which you cannot get anymore. So yeah, Giles is potentially the best fire sniper if you could manage to maintain the insanity. Like I always say, it's not easy, but it could be a very fun thing to do. So yeah, going back to the first question asked in this video, should you summon? Well, I think this time you should decide yourself. They are definitely not as broken as Azure, but they are not the worst of the worst either. In fact, managing the sanity can be pretty fun experience as long as you don't die because of it. Some cautionary tale though. The first year anniversary event is probably right after this banner. We don't know what will happen on the anniversary, except it's very likely to be return of Bethlehem and the release of Reinhardt. So if you like either of these two characters and are free to play, maybe consider skipping this one so you have more new members to summon during the anniversary. So yeah, that's all I want to cover for today. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.